The traits and characteristics I admire in other leaders, first of all, is integrity. I think if you're going to be someone that leads anything, whether it's resources or people, you have to be a person of integrity. And so someone who when they say they're going to do something, they do it, and they hold fast to the things that are important to them. And so many people can think about leaders as people who can get you from point A to point B, but I really do add a level of morality to the people that I follow and that I consider as leaders. And so integrity is absolutely number one. Most leaders that I admire are people who continually grow and learn. They understand that if they're the smartest person in the room, then they need to go to another room. And so they're comfortable with being challenged and being pushed. And then they're always thought leaders. Most leaders that I admire are people who don't only look at what is, but look at what could be. And so those are the types of leaders that I find myself gravitating towards. Leaders, first of all, I think they have to hold fast to their values. I think that if they want to be effective and if they want to make impact, they have to hold fast to their values. The things that are important to them and the things that are must-haves should always be. And so as you think about leading people, leading resources, managing teams, thought leaders, strategic planning, whatever that is, they must always hold fast to those values, those core things that never change. I think the leaders that I've found that I see that get into trouble or get into issues are the ones that don't necessarily hold fast to those core values, and they're different for everyone. Like I talked earlier about integrity, that's important to me. Being a leader, someone that listens, right? And so listening is key, because sometimes you're listening for what is said, but also you're looking at what isn't said. It's being a thought leader. It's thinking about what could be. It's about holding people accountable, but also challenging them to be better. And so all of those things, I think, make one a great leader. I've faced many challenges. As I think about the roles that I've had, there have been challenges in every role I've had professionally. And so one of the things I've done to overcome those is not necessarily focus on what happened, but number one is, understanding what happened, but not staying there. Thinking about, okay, how did this happen? How do I prevent it from happening again? And how do I move forward? And I think when you face challenges in that moment, it may seem like the biggest decision or the biggest issue you'll ever face. Acknowledge that, embrace that, but don't stay there. Right? If you think about a storm that comes through, right? If you think about storms, if you're driving through a storm and you stop, right, you're going to be in the midst of that storm all the time. But if you go through the storm and you keep going, guess what? At some point, you'll get on the other end of it. And I think many people, when they go through issues like that, or storms or challenges or trials, they stop and they stay there. But if I would say just keep moving, and if you keep moving, eventually you'll come out on the other end of that. And so that is what I've used when I've had big challenges, is to acknowledge it, try to prevent it so it doesn't happen again, and then moving forward. As I think about leadership is a continuum, right? And so there wasn't one thing that I did, but it was a series of things, right? It's understanding people, understanding how to manage processes and teams, thinking about the type of person, the type of environment and climate I want to create. And so every boss or every situation that I've had from leadership, I've learned something and I put that in my toolkit. Right? Even people talk about the bad leaders, but even for, if you have a bad leader, you can still learn something from them, even if it's just what not to do. And so what I've over the years and over the series of opportunities that I've had to be in what people would call a leadership role, I've taken those things that I've learned and then put them in my toolkit, and I think that enhances my style, my leadership ability, my leadership capability. And so there's not one thing I've done, but it's a series of things that I've been a part of that I've taken from, understanding integrity, understanding the value of people, the idea of effective communication, right? That's really key to talk about when you talk about communication. It's effective communication. It's giving people the ability to fail, right? That's one of the things I learned early on in my time at UT is I had a boss who allowed me to be innovative and entrepreneurial. But in that, I failed, and failure wasn't something that was frowned upon. It was okay, it happened, we tried something new, it didn't work, let's move on to the next thing. And so creating those types of environments for the teams that I lead, I think helps me grow as a leader, but also helps them grow as a leader. Because people talk about leadership and they say, the test of a good leader or a true leader is how many more leaders they develop behind them. First of all, I look for passion. I think there are certain things that can be taught, but those innate things, passion, integrity, those kinds of things can't be taught. And so those are the things that I look for in people. I look for absolutely people who are coachable, right? So who may come in a little green, or who may come in with not a fully developed skill set, but you can coach them through anything. So I look for coachability. Absolutely, that's key. I look for people who are people of integrity, right? People who absolutely and unequivocally know that they stand on a set of values that won't be deterred no matter what happens. That's important to me. And the last thing I do is I look for people who want to grow. I want people around me who will challenge me, who will push me, who will raise questions. And so people who aren't afraid to push back, even if it's the vice chancellor or somebody else that they're working on the leadership team with. So as a leader, I continue to grow and develop. Number one, I read. I like to read a whole lot, and I read a whole lot of things. I read 3 newspapers every morning. I'm always reading something. So when I have my phone, it's not looking through something. I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, but I'm reading something, whether it's an article or a newspaper, one of the newspapers I read every day, or books. And so I stay current by continuing to read. And then I grow by being around other leaders, right? I'm always learning from people. We tend to think about leaders as titles, right? And you have to be a vice president or vice this but everywhere I go, I try to glean something from leaders, because one of the smartest people I know was my grandma, Josephine Small, who was born in 1922 and never finished high school, right? And I learned a whole lot from her. And so I try to glean leadership skills and leadership lessons from everybody I interact with. One of the things that I firmly believe is you lead from where you are. And so wherever that is you are a leader in that space. And so I try to learn from those types of people.